Hey there. Welcome to another Tesla Motors Club podcast. My name is Lewis.
I'm Doug.
And I'm Mike.
On today's episode, we're going to cover some new leaked information from the Model 3 refresh called Project Highland. Tesla's brought back the referral program, so we'll find out some details around that. And they apparently have cut right-hand drive Model S and X. So I don't know. We'll get our opinions and thoughts around that one. All that and more for episode number 41, which starts now. All right, we're back.
We're back.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Still kicking.
Still kicking? Yeah.
It's been a couple weeks.
Been a few.
Yeah, I was out of town for a couple months, and then this last week I was down in Virginia. I had a nephew graduate from med school, so I got to test out. Finally got to test out the what is it? I guess FSD beta, I should call it. Right?
FSD. Well, we'll have to jump into that because there's some new FSD news on 11.4 coming out soon and all that.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about it. So Model 3 refresh, we've got some details, more details. We talked about it previous time on the outside. Now we've got some inside stuff. So Doug, hit us with the details. What do you think's going on? I'll throw the ball back to you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's not much. There's just an image that showed up on TikTok of all places, and it's not much. If you have it, maybe you can pull it up and I'll share it. But it's for the audio listeners too. It's just it's really just an image overhead, and it looks like some of the dash is covered up and the door is open. But the main thing that we see is the steering wheel, kind of similar to what has happened with the interior refresh of the S and the X, and that it looks like it has no stalks on the steering column. No stalks on the steering column, and probably those capacitive buttons, we're guessing, on the steering wheel. And there's nothing else really to say about it. I'm trying to get through the reasoning, and we've gone through this with the S and X also. Is like, does it make a whole lot of sense? Does it really save them that much money? It is a little bit of a pain point for something that people have to get used to. Let's see, I'm adding what Lewis has here. So it looks like some drone footage, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because there's a shroud around the steering column. So they're definitely trying to hide something.
Right. And this is also, we see that the exterior is a bit hidden as well, right? Like we've seen in other Project Highland images before. Or at least
the interesting thing is he swipes.
Images.
So he's got a reverse. There's no stock, and he swipes down on the screen, similar to
almost
Model
like he's
S
putting
and X.
gear. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I haven't driven that myself. Like I've said before, past couple months, I've had an older Model S that I've been driving, and then I'm finally back to my my Model 3. My nephew-in-law, I guess you call him, he has a Model X, and he always seems a little sad. Always feel like he's dying inside a little bit every time he has to swipe to shift gears. He's definitely not enthusiastic about that part, and that's his first EV that he's driving, and so it's in part of in his head, that's what driving an EV is. It's like, oh, I have to deal with these kind of things that he thinks are a bit dumb. Sure. So yeah, I kind of wish people had an option. I don't know that anyone would ever choose that.
I will say, so this is the same as how it works for Model S and X, since 2021, I guess, since the refresh there. And so I have a 2022 Model S, and I deal with this regularly. There's some nice aspect to the minimalism, right? It's the nice aesthetic of, you don't have these things hanging out. It's just clean, with the yoke and whatever, or if you have the steering wheel now, which is also an option. And it's fine when it works, right? Like if you think about it, the idea is it's automated. So most of the time you're supposed to not have to do it at all. You get in the car, when you put your foot on the brake, it automatically decides which gear selection to make. Can it do this 100% of the time? Of course not, because sometimes you're doing something different. Like there's no way for it to predict always, 100% of the time. Sometimes it's pretty obvious, right? Like when I'm in my garage, it knows that it's in the garage. It has the wall in front of it. It never tries to go forward, right? I get in the car, I push the brake, it auto goes into reverse. It's just going to do that every time. So in those types of situations, it's nice. It's one less thing you have to do. There's no gear selection.
But it seems to me that you need to check every time, no matter what, right? What direction you're going in is so critical. and it's one of those things where, grandpa crashes through a farmer's market or whatever, because he thought he was in drive or reverse, or he ended up being in the wrong one. And so, my muscle memory is, even if I'm already in gear or not in gear or whatever, I'm always just do it. I just select it anyway. Right. Push that I'm in reverse. It's, not like the old days where you had a large lever, and you could just look at it and see what position it was in.
I mean, it's pretty obvious in this. I'm not sure how it'll be with a Model 3. I'm assuming they're not putting the screen in the front in the dash for the driver. It's very unlikely. So obviously in the Model S and X, you can see it there, which direction you're kind of going, like based on what that's showing. But honestly, the thing that I tell most of all is, how do I know whenever I push the pedal, is the whole screen turns into your backup cameras, right? So if you're going backwards, the whole screen is cameras. And if you're not, it's not. So I usually know immediately which direction the car has decided to engage without even reading anything. I just hit my foot on the brake, and then from the screen you can tell. It's a little annoying at times when you in a parking lot or things, and it's just like, all right, now I got to hit the thing again. But it's not. I don't know. I don't think it's that bad. It's for removing the stocks. What I would say for everyone out there that may end up with who has stocks now that will go to this, is the turn signals are the thing that I hate. So removing the stocks is really about the turn signals, not the drive selector. But all we see here is proof of the drive selector. That's why, the video clip showed the guy swiping down to go backwards or to go into reverse. But the lack of turn signals on the stocks, that's really annoying.
I wonder, okay, so having it as a stock to change what gear you're in, to me, that's pretty big, especially when you're trying to do a couple maneuvers pretty quickly, like if you're just sort of straightening out your parking or whatever, and having to go over and make that deliberate motion where you're taking your hand off the wheel to do that. I wonder then, okay, they're already making you make that extra stretch. How critical is it to be able to use the turn signal from the steering wheel? Like, it seems to me the problem with it, with the no stalk configuration, is that the wheel is now in a random position, right? You might want to turn, you might want to indicate your turn while your wheel is
already in a turn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're doing a roundabout, say you're trying to exit a roundabout.
Exactly.
Would it make sense to put it as a button or something you could tap on the dash? Okay, here's something, at least it's in a fixed location.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I guess it depends on how far the angle of your wheel, because people can also adjust the steering wheel up or down, or based on height and things like that. I don't know. I feel like the stock is just a pretty intuitive design that has been around for such a long time. They could get rid of it on one side, right? Like you could basically have don't have right stocks, just have left stocks for the turn signal, for example. I don't know. It's the whole thing is kind of like, it's more about cost savings than it is about better design.
Yeah. Right. It doesn't feel like better design or driver convenience or even what the driver wants.
Right.
Yeah. I was just trying to think how this is going to work in a city like Chicago, where it's parking by braille, and to get into the parking spot, you've got to go back and forward like 5 times.
Well, the car
I
parks
mean-
itself, so
Oh, right, right. Sure, it does. Be nice if it did.
Yeah. Honestly, it's funny because my wife asked me about that too, like a few weeks ago. She made a comment like, "Doesn't the car just park itself?" And I was just like, "I don't want to talk about it."
Yeah, not that I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I again, I saw a bit of my family this weekend, or not this weekend, during the week for this whole sort of graduation time, and people would ask like, "Oh, well, yeah, doesn't it park itself?" And it does. It does, but it just takes too long. It's a little embarrassing, so I don't do it. I tell you one thing that since my car updated, my summon is back. Remember, for basically a year, I didn't have.
You had no summon.
Yeah, I had no
You're
summon.
summonless.
I was summonless for about a year. It just wouldn't work. And when I tried to get it repaired, they told me it was, oh, this is a known firmware problem, and they weren't doing anything for me. But it's back. I have the parlor trick, which is nice because
There you go.
it's just fun to, you have people that don't really know anything about these cars, and and I'm driving them around, and we step outside a restaurant, and they're just sort of chatting, and then my car just sort of pulls up. It's fun. It's fun.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of agree with what's the username? Electrified Light Vehicles. Basically his comment of saying, the stock is gone. I don't know if every new Model 3 enthusiast will dig it. Yeah, I agree with
won't.
you. Like I genuinely feel like this decision will cause them to have fewer sales than they would have otherwise. Because there are many people that it'd be the equivalent of saying every car forcibly gets the yoke, right? They started that with the S and X and they backpedaled off of it and changed it to a steering wheel as the default option because you literally are turning away customers. And something as prevalent as stalks for turn signals and drive selection, all that. Again, the drive selection is a little gimmicky. I don't think it matters that much. The turn signals, though, I think is going to...
That matters a lot.
That's going to impact people. I legit feel like they are going to reduce customers.
And that's again with my my nephew-in-law who's just like I always feel like he's dying inside a little bit. And he's just not. I mean, that car is amazing. That it's a Model X Plaid, and it takes off like stink, and it's amazing, even though it's full of passengers. And he's just not that enthusiastic because of these little things. And already, people in their first EV, there's some things you got to get used to. Most of them are pretty good things, but understanding regenerative braking, understanding sort of throttle lift braking that you get, at least to how Tesla's does it. And they used to give you some options, which aren't there anymore in terms of adjusting the amount of coast you get when you lift off the throttle.
Right.
So that's already something people got to get used to. They got to get used to the plugging in, but changing the interface of driving, that maybe seems to be unnecessarily put on the new EV driver for the same reasons we just said. That it feels more. It's not really a driver centric kind of or customer centric kind of choice. It's not even a like this is a better design.
But
it just feels like we're trying to save money.
Isn't Elon's stated goal is to just get in the car, punch in the nav, and basically let it do its thing?
Yeah, and we're not there yet.
Yeah, well, he thinks it is.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
I mean, we're losing our stocks, we're losing our turn signals. I mean, pretty soon you're just going to get in the seat, and that's the end of it.
Yeah, and I guess I feel like that is the Elon way, which is he's already in the future. And we just need to catch up.
The rest of us are kicking and screaming. Yeah,
we just need to catch up to him, but we're not there yet.
So I'm honestly wondering if this means they're also doing the same thing they did with the horn, which is probably the biggest nuisance of what I see people complaining about on
the little button on the.
It's a little button. It's a little haptic button on the steering wheel. It's not push center. And the number of people that complain, you see this constantly on the S and X forums of people complaining about it, going, is there any way to change this? What about the push center? They, even tweeted at Elon, and he originally said, oh yeah, well, there'll be push center, it's fine. To which that's not true. The hardware's not there. They instead of making a push center, they did a thing where you can smack the right hand side if you just push and like mash your hand on the entire like display area of the steering wheel. It'll just it'll honk the horn rather than you trying to push the specific horn button.
Yeah, my understanding was when you did that sort of full hand tap of the right side, it was a slightly different horn. Like it went bop, 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 instead of just a normal horn.
There's like a horn pattern thing that you can do with like a tap pattern as well that adjusts it. But again, it doesn't bother me much. For me, the biggest issue is the turn signals because that impacts me the most. I don't really use my horn. I just kind of react to people. I grew up driving in New Jersey and New York. Horns are kind of useless. It's more about
you're not supposed to use a horn.
You'd be on it
in
all
fact,
the time.
you get fined for using a horn. So like, I am not trained to use a horn at all. I literally just reactively drive based on traffic. That's just how I was brought up. But the number of people that have muscle memory of the horn and it's not there. So I'm really curious if they're doing that too, because part of the whole new column assembly is there's no stalks and there's no depressing of the horn. It's entirely just a button on the
I mean,
side.
that's something they could obviously fix, right?
They could absolutely fix it. Absolutely could be done. And I'm really waiting to see this car come out because I would love to see what they ended up deciding there. Like if they are doing the horn the same way, or if they're, similar to the yoke back to the steering wheel, if they're gonna fall back to the the horn. But I'll point out the new steering wheel that they came out for the S and X does not have a depressible horn.
I mean,
So.
I wonder if that would be considered a safety issue by the feds, because all driver's ed has the student hitting the center of the wheel for a horn. I mean, you've got generations on generations that have learned how to do that, and all of a sudden you take it away.
They need to reinvent this horn technology.
Yeah.
Make it a capacitive horn on the center.
Great.
Go ahead. If you don't like something that's mechanical, it's a capacitive.
Do it from a camera. They see your hand go go on the center. It goes off.
Yeah. Tesla vision.
Or a little infrared beam that you cross as you put your hand on there.
the old school touch screens.
just do it. Come on. This is ridiculous.
It's one of those things where it's hard to judge. It's like, Steve Jobs famously would do things like that, where he would change the design and say, I don't care. That's not what people are used to. This is better. And eventually they'll get used to it. Like the mouse, for example, he famously said, like, yeah, all the people that aren't used to a mouse, they'll just die. Right. Like it's fine. New people that you get used to computers will be used to the mouse.
Well, that's famously why the first Macs didn't have arrow keys. It was like force them to use the mouse.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And in some cases you might be right. Like, so the mouse obviously is a very good, important thing for computing.
And yet I still have a keyboard with arrows on it.
Well, they brought them back, obviously. Like later Macs
from Apple.
They brought them back. But like the first.
So sometimes you go too far when you do these new types of things. And I feel like Elon's similar, right? He pushed the envelope in a number of ways. Many of the improvements are significantly better. So I love many of the design decisions they've made with the car. And improvements that are different. The lack of no visible vents is just brilliant. It looks so much better, still works well, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I feel like this might be a bit too far.
Yeah, so we have a comment again from Electrified Light Vehicles. Perhaps having a stalk or a turn signal on the left would make sense. I agree.
Yeah.
I hope there's an instrument cluster, maybe a HUD or augmented reality would be nice. Nah.
Not gonna happen. I agree, that would be awesome. It's not gonna happen. Like if they were gonna do a HUD, they would have done it in the refresh S and X. And they didn't, because other cars at that price point have HUDs. They didn't do it for cost. We do still have the display, the instrument cluster, but again, due to cost, I don't think they'll port that back down to the 3.
When the 3 first came out, or when we're first talking about the 3 in like 2016, I guess.
They want a steering wheel even, right?
Well, yeah, that was discussed at some point, but we were all of the forum was like, okay, what are they going to do? There's no display there. You have the side display. Is there going to be some sort of HUD? Everybody was like expecting it because the 3 was the new vehicle and it was going to show all this new technology and stuff.
Yeah, no
and
HUD.
it did not happen. And I would not expect it anytime soon. Not that I don't think a HUD is necessarily that great or that useful. It would be nice maybe just to have my speed there, but I'm okay with the screen on the side. It hasn't really been an issue, but yeah, I wouldn't hold my breath on that. So, and he's also the same commenter. It's like, oh, maybe we'll have an instrument cluster. Yeah, I don't see that happening either. They're trying to save money. They're trying to have fewer parts. They're not gonna. They've gotten away with not having an instrument cluster on the 3 as it is, 3Y as it is. I don't see them adding it now. So
right, and it's one of those things that maybe you get used to it. It doesn't matter. Like Doug, you said, you're used to not having it now. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine not having it because I went from my regular car to an S that has it. So I love having that display right in front of me that I can see, that shows me my navigation right on it, shows me all the stuff. I almost never even look to the middle. I don't have to look at the screen.
I mean, I tell you what, when I drive an S, I'm like, oh, this is nice. It's so nice having a display right there. Funny enough, though, for some reason, this particular S, even though it has, it's supposed to have whatever the lifetime connectivity package, whatever it was called back then.
Yep.
Like the screen, you can like put an address, it'll show you the address, but it won't actually navigate to that address. So I ended up blocking that screen anyway with my phone. I'd have to put my phone and block the instrument cluster just so I could get my nav. So sort of a, one step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing.
Oh man. So any last thoughts on this? Think it's a good idea, bad idea?
That would be a bad idea.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea, but it's happening. So it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'm sure I could get used to it once I start driving. It doesn't mean I'll particularly like it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm used to it at this point for sure. It's been about almost a year. It's just, I would prefer to have them go back the other way. But anyway,
I just wonder if they could do it nice. Whenever I see it, it just looks so lame. Like I'm swiping. Like this is such a. It doesn't feel like a nice motion to make. Like when I drive a sporty manual car, I love rolling through the gears. I love it, and I love going into reverse, going into first gear, and the little dance of the pedals I do, and
feels nice.
And it does feel nice, and I'm adjusting the throttle as I like. And okay, so it's a big step back to be like, okay, I'm going in the reverse, I'm going in the drive. But in some ways, if you do it just right, you're still rolling back, but you go into drive while you're rolling back, and you get your steering wheel right, and you step on the gas when you want, and so you can kind of
do that kind of.
Right. That feels kind of cool. I don't see. Am I gonna do that? And okay, now I got to slide in the spot here. I just don't see it happening.
So you want the haptic buttons on the screen like the old Chryslers had the push buttons for the automatic?
No, I'm just saying I like if I'm changing gears here, or have you do it 3 on the tree as it used to be.
Yeah.
That was fun. You want the driving experience to be fun, and I don't see this being fun. Having to
we can give you a little stick shift to play with as you're driving.
Oh, hey, I wonder if you're what are those guys that don't sponsor us? What are those
sexy buttons?
Huh? Sexy buttons.
The sexy buttons. The guys that don't sponsor us. That's right.
Can you get it? Well, not that we've tried or they've approached us, but can you get a sexy button for your gears? Could you have a sexy button say go in drive, go in reverse?
Actually, I would say yes.
I bet you could with the new swipe, because that's working on the CAN bus. I bet you could.
Well, yeah, because there is a manual override, right? So there is a manual gear shift selector underneath in the center column. So basically, if your screen's out, if your computer's out, you can touch
still do it
in the center console, and you can select the gear, and that's CAN bus as well. So yeah, you definitely could make a you
pull
could
your
program
iPhone,
in
pull your iPhone out and swipe the gear.
Yeah.
Or you could have the buttons like the Roadster had drive, neutral, and reverse as just push buttons. That were on the on the tunnel. So you could set that up with your sexy buttons.
There you go.
Problem solved. Right.
I'll have to write them a letter and see what they say.
Yeah. Sadly, it doesn't fix my turn signal problem. I guess you could put the turn signal. You could put something up on the side. I did see there was somebody took the not to go too off on a tangent, but they did take the shroud from a Model 3, an existing one, and put it into a Plaid. So they added stocks and they wired up basically a little
Wow.
microcontroller.
That's a lot of work.
So they basically had stocks working for their turn signals and stuff on a Plaid.
That's a serious amount of work.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. I don't think I'd want it that much.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why I haven't done something like that.
That's a Saturday and Sunday with too much time on your hands.
Yeah. It's still cool that you can do it. Anyway, alrighty, moving on. Let's see. Next topic I want to talk about is Tesla. Speaking of, are they going to have customers, impacted how many customers they're going to have based on this redesign referral program. So they're bringing back the referral program. So yeah, I mean, Mike, hit us with the deets. What's going on the referral program?
Yeah. So this is a blast from the past. So some of the folks who used to do old Tesla school would get referrals, and everybody wanted their upgraded, Roadster, with enough referrals. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like you can get referrals for a Roadster again. What they're giving you is points. And an example would be if a Model 3, if you refer someone that buys a Model 3, you get 2,000 points. On the flip side of that, if you refer somebody that buys solar panels, you'll get 9,000 points. And you might be asking, well, what the hell can I do with points? Well,
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, see, that's perfect segue. So you can exchange your points for fun things like a wall connector at 5,500 points. You can get yourself a CCS adapter at 4,000 points. Or if you really want to step up your game, you can get free, and you see my air quotes here, free supercharging for roughly 5,000 points thereabouts. And they'll give you 2,000 miles of free supercharging. And if you do the math, works out to roughly somewhere between $100 and $200 in value.
Why does it sound like the Pepsi points?
Yeah.
Can I get a Harrier jump jet at $250,000?
Yeah, that would be.
That sounds like
points
are 10 cents, right?
Yeah.
Points
Somebody scored that jet, by the way. I mean,
well, there's a Netflix documentary about it, but something about this just feels lame. I guess it makes sense to do points because you can always change the value of points. Probably Tesla is regretting doing the whole get a free Roadster thing.
But here's the kicker: you've got 1 year to use your points, then they expire.
Your points expire. They're worse than airline points.
Points expire.
My airline miles don't even expire. Come on.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah. We're gonna have blackout dates. No supercharging miles during these months.
You can spend your points on a raffle ticket for a Cybertruck. If you have nothing else that Tesla has that you want, you can always do that.
I mean, what if I don't want a Cybertruck?
You're kind of toast then.
Can you just spend money and get the Cybertruck raffle?
I mean, you can just spend money and buy a Cybertruck.
The entry, if you want the raffle ticket, the entry ticket's 500 points. So,
what are the chances?
$50.
Well, I guess it depends how many people are using the raffle process.
That's interesting because there are rules about contests, and I don't know if that's considered a contest.
I haven't been able to find any rules or what the odds are of you winning that raffle. So,
okay, well,
they may be out there, but I couldn't find them, not readily.
So, the referral program used to be a bigger deal. They neutered it just before I got a car, so I have a certain animosity about it. But
that's why you're roadsterless.
Yeah, I'm roadsterless, or I don't even have.
So is everybody.
Yeah, even the people that are supposed to get like 4 or whatever. But I guess it makes me wonder about these are the little knobs that Tesla tries to turn in terms of juicing or demand, right? I mean, they've been adjusting the pricing kind of up and down. They've been people have talked about like, why don't they advertise? this is kind of a way of sort of juicing the word of mouth advertising.
I'm not sure if it's going to juice it very much. I mean,
I mean, you would think that they would have some knowledge or some sort of metrics that say how well it works for them. I just don't know. It seems to me a lot of people that want a Tesla, want one. And I've only done like maybe 10 referrals just to hand it out to people. But these are almost always someone who's already gonna get a Tesla, or they're coming to me with questions about a Tesla. So
Right.
they're already interested in it. And I explain to them and give them, all the info, and then, okay, maybe you can use my referral.
Please
code.
give me some credit. Use this code.
Yeah. I don't really make a big deal about it because the return on it's pretty minor. I just maybe present it as there's some benefit to you by using a referral code.
It's ironic because they're given you can get a wall charger, but odds are high you already have a wall charger if you're referring somebody to buy a Tesla. You can get a CCS adapter, which is ironic again because there still are no retrofit kits for the 3s and Ys. So it's only the new folks that would have that.
Yeah.
You get like swag, like hoodies and mouse pads.
Nothing
like that.
Wait. You get points, right? I thought the points you could use in the Tesla store, right?
Can you?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think you can use them in the store, which will give you like whatever hoodies and hats and stuff. So, I mean, there's some value, and certainly there are folks that are very enthusiastic about Tesla and wearing Tesla gear, or some people are just really into that kind of stuff. So that's cool. That's fine. It seems pretty minor. So I don't know. It doesn't feel like something to get particularly excited about.
Yeah, you have to be at least 18. Points or credits are non-transferable, not redeemable for cash. Must be redeemed in 12 months. Yeah, it's a pretty limited use.
Yeah.
Is what it is. I mean,
it is what it is.
It's a I guess it's a bonus, right? Without the referral program, you get nothing with it. You might get something that you can.
I had nothing before, and I have nothing now, so I haven't really lost anything.
All right.
So,
alrighty.
There you go.
So
now
all
you know as much as I do about it.
That's all there is to talk about referral program. All right. So there's other big news coming out of Tesla is it looks like there is no more right-hand drive Model S or X. They're no longer going to be doing right-hand drive, which for those that get confused by this, because it's very confusing, right-hand drives on the left side of the road, and left-hand drive, which is what we are in the US, drives on the right side of the road.
Yeah, so it refers to the location of the steering wheel.
Where the steering wheel is. So anyway, so basically, it looks like Tesla canceled a bunch of orders for people that had ordered S's and X's in places like the UK, where they drive on the incorrect side of the street. No, I'm sorry, on the other side of the street. Just throwing shade. One of our staff guys is from the UK. And so they cancel a bunch of orders, and they now offer it only as an import only. They will not they're not going to manufacture the car as right-hand drive. So yeah, I don't know. This is kind of surprising to me. What are your thoughts on this, Mike? What do you think?
I was kind of shocked actually when I read this for the first time. My initial thought is it was like, cutting off your hand. But, I mean, I think the economics made sense.
Cutting off your right hand?
Yeah. But, Tesla's always about economics. It's always about the dollars and cents being driven. And, somebody did the math and said, yeah, this looks good to us. Although I think from a PR point of view, I think they're going to take a real hit, because this is going to leave a really bad taste in people's mouth, especially folks that already had the order placed. Yeah, they're kind of screwed at this point.
Right. I mean, one of our producers, he's from the UK, and he's had friends complain that my X order got canceled. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I've friends in Japan and some in the UK that are interested in these vehicles, and we have a lot of we have a big UK and Australian contingent on TMC, and hey, it's basically telling those people that you can't have an S or X, so get a 3 or a Y instead.
Right.
That's basically
Well,
what
it's
they're
even more
saying.
crass than that. It's really, you don't count. You know, in the grand scheme of things, as a customer, you don't count.
Well, it certainly isn't a customer-centric decision. But yeah, it must just make sense. They only produce X's and S's at the Fremont plant. The number of those cars compared to the 3 and the Y
Pretty
are
low.
pretty small. Yeah,
it's
pretty
around
low.
like 10,000 a quarter or something like that total, not just the right hand drive ones, but
Maybe
all of them.
Tesla feels they can take the PR hit. Yeah.
Is it? I don't know that it's. Yeah, I'm not really sure what the real reaction is, but it's a little disappointing. But because there certainly is that segment of buyer, that wants the better car, and right now the S and the X are the best vehicles that Tesla offers. Right? I mean, the Model S Plaid should be currently Tesla's flagship vehicle, and you can't get it for your.
But you're
drive.
telling the marketplace that you can't have that car unless it's configured wrong for your location.
Which to be fair, in high-end cars, it is a thing, but this is not a high-end car in my mind, right? Like, so for the Roadster, right? If it ever comes out, when it comes out,
when it comes out,
like I could see the argument of, yeah, it's a low-volume car. You know, I've known people that buy high-end cars. They just drive it with the wrong configuration. And
but
you don't drive it every day.
It's a hobby car,
right?
Yeah.
But for your daily driver, like my Model S Plaid is my daily driver. I would not buy it if it was not in the correct configuration. So, yeah, I mean, I guess you're basically cutting out those markets and saying, hey, we don't care enough. We're not going to make enough. It's not economically viable, whatever. So I don't know. It's a little surprising to me that they're doing it, but clearly the numbers are the numbers, right? So they've been doing a lot of decisions based on numbers. As we've just
the yoke
discussed.
Was going to take over the world, and they had the backtrack on that. So
I like the yoke, so I'll defend the yoke.
You can have my yoke.
Awesome. I think the yoke is great. Speaking on that topic, actually, not to go too off on a tangent, I think it has to do with if you like when you turn or how you drive. If you're doing hand over hand, if you're doing two hands. I'm used to driving stick shift, and I generally only have one hand on the wheel, so I don't care that it's a yoke around.
I drove a stick for 20 years, and I still drive hand over hand, and I hate the yoke.
See, I don't do hand over hand. So, yeah, we'll see.
Well, that's interesting because when I'm cruising with the stick, my hand's at 12, and so you have no 12 with a yoke.
Right,
so
right.
Mine's rested with my elbow on the side, and I'm just holding it on the side. This is basically my arm is like resting, and it's on the side. And then if I'm like turning, I kind of like hook the top and I just kind of like palm it left or right, depending on what I'm doing.
Oh, you got one of the little turn knobs on your wheel. I know what you got.
They have those little
knob, yeah.
They have the little like hook
Thumb
at the
hook.
top of the yoke, and you kind of like hook your finger on it and just bring it around. Yeah. So it's very comfortable. But anyway.
We digress.
I am team yoke, but if I cared, I would switch to the steering wheel, and people do. Some people care a lot. I wouldn't. If I would pay the $250 to upgrade to the yoke, honestly, if I bought it now.
So I wonder how much savings, back on track here, how much they are really saving by not producing these vehicles. I mean, it's the tooling's already there. It's not like they have to invent the tooling, right?
Right.
It's already there. So because they've already sold these vehicles. I
wonder if it's like. Is it
unless
a parts
they're planning
thing,
to do a refresh
assembly thing? What is it?
Yeah, I don't know. And also, Tesla doesn't really have. I mean, you could argue that these aren't necessarily luxury cars. They don't quite have luxury interiors, but they don't really fulfill that luxury segment in those places now, right? Because they they're telling those drivers to downgrade, quote unquote, to a 3 or a Y.
Go buy a Porsche, go buy a Mercedes if you want the correct steering arrangement.
Well, so what are the other competitors doing? Like what, those cars obviously exist in those segments. I mean, in those regions, right?
I guess
you know.
they're losing money. I don't know. is that the argument?
Huh.
I don't know. It's yeah. I wonder what the economics look like. Hopefully, someone like Sandy Monroe or someone comes out with a video where they break it down, because
Oh,
I
I'm sure he
would be
will.
curious to see what the internal industry
Yeah, I mean,
expectation of costs.
that's
and
exactly
manufacturing.
what Sandy would talk about too. I mean, that's
Exactly. Like that's what I
squarely in
want to
his
know.
wheelhouse.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I have never worked in the automotive industry, so I don't know how their manufacturing works compared to others. Yeah, yeah. Vico's comment. I mean, that's fair, right? Like Vico made a comment, said when FSD is fully out, the driver won't touch the steering wheel, so right left hand drive won't matter much. Sure, robo taxi time, like
oh yeah, what
I agree. At
10
that point,
years
it
from
won't
now,
matter.
5 years from now,
And maybe that's the standard. Maybe they're doing the standard, typical Tesla thing where they delete something a few years ahead of time, right? They got rid of
Prematurely.
ultrasonics, and
Like
Vision
ultrasonic.
wasn't able to do parking and wasn't able to do detection, and now they're getting there. They're catching up.
Yeah.
So
Again,
maybe it is. They're, you know what? We're going to stop doing that, and in a few years when we switch over, it'll be fine. But if it was truly that argument, they'd be doing it on the 3 and the Y also. They can't afford, I don't think, to lose that much of a segment, for volume if they did it on the
given
3
their
and Y.
sales volume of the Y.
They're
and
only
the 3,
doing it on the
yeah.
low volume cars.
yeah, I
which-
mean, I've already said that, Elon's living in the future, right? And we're just catching up to him. But this,
Right.
like it just doesn't feel like that kind of thing. So yeah, it must be some economical reason. So
yeah.
I mean, basically, it's like you have so many SKUs, right? And maybe these are their lowest volume SKUs, so they just delete them and streamline the product. Or streamline the product line. Streamline the product line.
Well, I guess we'll find out more in time. Time comes how that impacts them, if it makes sense, and we'll see. Hopefully, like I said, someone like Sandy will give an update on the financials behind it. But all right. So FSD. So there's some new news in the FSD
New
world.
news.
New news. All news is good news, even FSD news. I did see someone in the comments made a comment about how it'll be ready end of this year on Elon time. Elon did hint again, right? He did tweet out or made a comment saying, I'm going to regret saying this, but by the end of this year or whatever, he thinks FSD will be ready. So anyway, we'll see what happens. But FSD 11.4.1. It's finally gone out to some non-employee only. Some of the early testers are using 11.4.1. Elon has tweeted very positive things about it. He made a comment saying that it's almost like version 12. It's so much better than version 11. I mean, let's be honest. Version numbers are mostly meaningless. They're arbitrary
At this point.
At this point, right? Like there are organizations, there are products where it means a lot, and then there's products and organizations where it doesn't mean that much. But yeah, so FSD version 11.4.1 should be going wide soon, I think, to more people. But right now, again, early testers, insiders, stuff like that. It seems to be doing much better than 11.3.6 in some areas. Chuck, with the famous left turn, he seemed to not like it so much for his left turn. He posted a video recently and basically outlined that the lane selection part of like where it was doing that, stop in the middle and then move forward. He didn't like the lane selection, but yeah, it's looking promising. It seems to be a noticeable improvement. The release notes came out. They have a lot of statistical measurable things that, seems to be improving on. So I'm kind of excited. I'm looking forward to getting that version and seeing how it does. Because to be honest, 11.3.6 works pretty well. It works quite well compared to pre-11 at this point. It's reasonably doing his thing.
Yeah, I wanted to say that.
Yeah, so Doug, share your trip. You did a trip.
Well, yeah, I had a drive again to Virginia, and this was maybe shorter than most of my long trips. Like if I had the car completely charged, I was able to make it in one go without having to stop to charge. But yeah, while I was away, my car did 2 updates, and so it had 11.3.6 FSD beta by the time I got back, and Tried it out, and it is a lot better than what I've had before. The main things I notice is how it chooses where to be within the lane. It's hugging the inside of the curve. It's moving away from semi trucks. It seems a lot more confident on the road. So I enjoyed it. It did have some quirks. It was still kind of picking the wrong lane when I needed to turn in the city. I guess the biggest difference is, okay, now I have, while I'm on the highway, it's still using the, whatever they want to call it, what they used to call city streets, is still using that basic, it's using that form of interface. Mm-hmm. And one of the main things I notice is I'm driving along and there's like a barrier right next to me. Used to be that I'd get there'd be little lines around the car showing that the sonar, that the ultrasonic sensors are seeing something. They're seeing that wall there. I don't have those anymore. So I don't know if the ultrasonic sensors are still there and they're just
probably disabled.
Either they're not reporting to me or they're just disabled altogether. I kind of appreciated having them.
You should see, I believe the color of the line and the indicator changes when it thinks it's like a harder barrier versus a lane that you can move through. I believe it adjusts, but could be wrong.
I didn't quite notice that, but
okay.
But for the most part, it was pretty good. The biggest change actually is that I don't have to tell it, like, if it wants to change lanes, I don't have to make a point of like jiggling the wheel to let it know that I'm there to change lanes. It'll just change lanes on its own. And so that was a little nicer. That made the interface nicer. Though I did get at least one disengagement. I mean, like I don't know why. Like it just disabled on me, and and gave me what they call it, a forced disengagement or whatever. Strike. Yeah,
you got a strike against you.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Wow.
Sometimes
were you looking straight ahead? Did you have sunglasses on? I mean, because it's doing a lot of it from the camera watching.
Yeah,
you, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there were times when I had sunglasses on. It gives me less nags when I have sunglasses on, probably because it can't tell while I'm looking.
You're looking away.
Well, I mean, I would see it complain because there would be times when I need to do something with the screen. Like, okay, since I didn't need to charge, I still needed to stop, to take a leak or whatever, and or grab some food or something. And I'm, just trying to figure out where to stop that makes sense. And I didn't want to stop at a Sheetz, which is where all the superchargers are in the Northeast. They're always at a Sheetz, and I can't eat that. So I wasn't going to just stop at a supercharger. I was just going and I have to pay for supercharging. So I was just going to get home and charge at home when I got to my destination. So yeah, I did complain about me, keep your eyes on the road instead of the big screen that they have in front of me to look at.
Big distraction on the dash.
Yeah. So yeah, I wish they would tell me specifically why it disengaged. I've noticed, like, before this update, when I might have had both my hands in view of the camera for some reason. Like I said, if I'm on a call and I kind of talk with my hands a little bit, I was like, instant disengagement. So your hands can't be on the wheel if I can see both of them, So I don't know if that's it. I wish they'd tell you. Maybe they don't want to tell you because they think you might
you'll game it.
Cheat the system.
How about tell me so you can teach me so that I'm playing, I'm not gaming it, but I'm doing what you want in terms of making the thing work right. So there was let me see if I can find it here. There was a tweet from Green the Only saying that that Tesla's planning to use the cameras a bit more. Maybe you can say something about that while I did that image.
He basically tweeted out a thing. So I'm assuming he's, again, for those that don't know, Green is famous in the Tesla world for reverse engineering the software, looking at how it works and the hardware. I don't want to say only the software, but he gets in there, he disassembles things, he looks at the code, the updates, and he didn't give a source as to why he thinks this, but you can see the tweet on the screen. And basically he said, looks like Tesla is planning a big boost to camera-based driver monitoring. they are now tracking additional things like how many yawns the driver had recently, how many blinks and how long they were, leaning, etc. All this is to calculate how drowsy the driver is. But it also looks like they are planning to apply this even when not on autopilot, which is a very his opinion is it's a good move. They should do that by seeing how well centered the driving is, how many lane keep assist warnings and corrections happen lately. Though it is unclear what they would do if the driver is deemed unfit to drive when not on autopilot. Hopefully, they'll at least dial all the warnings and active safety stuff to 11 and enable when disabled. Anyway, so that was a quote from his tweets. I was just reading his tweets to you, so not my words.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with that. We talked a while when I went to Vietnam last summer and saw what VinAI was doing in terms of driver monitoring, and it would give you some feedback, and they'd count your yawns or how long your eyes were closed, if you're blinking, and that kind of thing. I think that's useful information. I think Tesla should be doing that stuff. But I want them to tell me about it. Right? I don't want them just to have that data and then make
adjust your
judgments about
insurance
me,
rates,
adjust my insurance rates or whatever. Let me know, give me a report about it. Maybe not, you want to limit the amount of information you're dumping on someone while they're driving, but I guess make it part of the safety report or something. But give me that info. And in real time, I mean, definitely when I was driving back, I was thinking about it a lot because I was yawning a bit because I didn't get as good sleep as I would have wanted. But autopilot was working, everything was working fine. But I wasn't falling asleep. I wasn't that sleepy, but I was yawning. And okay, you should be able to note that and tell me something about it. And are my eyes closing for a bit or whatever? So let me know. Yeah, let me know.
I will say it's funny. I know it's a safety thing, but it's kind of funny that, like you mentioned, you're trying to put something in on the screen and it nags at you and it forcibly disengages. And it's just like,
Yep.
Shouldn't you rather the car is controlling it because I'm distracted than forcibly stop controlling the car and make it go to me when I'm distracted?
Right.
I mean, again, I get it for safety and regulations. It's just hilarious. It's like,
it's
no,
more like
you should be more vigilant on you controlling the
Yeah,
car
you know
because
what it
I'm
is.
not.
You know what it is? It's like, I'm not taking the blame. Oh, you're not
Right.
paying attention? Forget it. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all you. It's like,
Right.
it's like, what a friend you are, huh?
That's right.
You're gonna
Car
ditch your
taps out.
buddy when he's having trouble? Screw
Right.
you. I'm going home.
Right. It's definitely, I don't know. It's funny, and I am very much looking forward to the technology getting to the point where it is considered safe and the regulations have changed. Because I don't need my car to drive for me all the time. I enjoy driving the car. I like to have the ability to drive it. So I probably wouldn't want a car with no steering wheel, not due to safety, but due to I like to enjoy it. Hence the Plaid, right? Why would I spend that much on a car if I didn't enjoy it? The flip side, though, is I want it to, when I am distracted or when I need to do something quickly or I need to adjust something or look, I want to be like, yeah, you do it. I'm gonna mess with the screen for a minute. I'm gonna look for food somewhere to eat. I'm gonna put in some other navigation thing. It'd be nice to be able to do that, and I look forward to the time when you can, where you don't need a second person in your car.
Yeah, I find it most useful when I don't know where I'm going, because it does a better job than I do at turning
Unknown
at the right
roads.
spot.
Right.
Like I'll be looking at the GPS and I know there's a turn coming up, and I'm like, which one is it actually? Is it this one here? It's not quite clear, and but the autopilot does a good job. I guess it has a better idea where it is than I am able to interpret from looking at the map. But then once I know where I'm going, and if it's not tedious, especially if the road's open, I want to drive. I like feeling the acceleration. I like changing lanes and just having some fun with the driving. So yeah, I agree.
We'll see where it goes, but yeah. Anyway, that's cool. So I'm glad to hear that it was significantly better for you. Let's see. I think we have a question in the chat. Cubica. I have a question about something you've said in the past. Do you really don't like that Teslas with yoke steering wheel have blinkers on the steering wheel? That's what some Ferraris have. So yeah, so we actually talked a little bit about this earlier this podcast and in previous. But yeah, I mean, it's mostly fine. You can get used to it. It's not a big deal. And you're right, there are other cars that have done it. Tesla's not the first. But in my opinion, I enjoy having the stock because while you're in a turn. So most of the time, if you're driving on a highway, you're driving in normal city traffic, and you just need to indicate, your steering wheel is straight. It doesn't matter. It's right there. I hit it with my thumb. I don't have to think. If I'm in a roundabout or I'm in a traffic circle or a rotary, depending on where you're from, if I'm in that turn and my wheel is to the side and I need to signal like, hey, I'm taking this exit, it's a lot harder to do because the relative position of where the button is changes as the wheel turns.
The button's now out of position.
It's now out of position. So now it's like, oh crap, where is it? It's up here, it's down there, or whatever. So it can be difficult to do. It's also annoying. There's some situations where you're in a turn, but you immediately have to signal, like in a parking lot or something like that, like you're turning and then turning again while you're in a turn. How do you indicate that to somebody? It's much harder to do. So yeah, again, I wish the turn signal was not moving on me. But it is what it is. I mean, I would honestly almost prefer something stupid. This is going to sound dumb, but just being like, I just would say like left indicator, right indicator, without even pushing a button. If the voice command was much better than how all of our current voice commands work, because if you use an Alexa or one of the, or I'm going to say Siri or Google, whatever,
you're going to set them all off now.
I'm going to set them all off, but they're all terrible in my opinion because of the latency and the responsiveness and the all that delay. Like it's not viable. But if you actually had a good audio, like that was instantly responsive, that I would see would be more beneficial to me than a weird button that moves around on me.
Yeah, even while I'm using autopilot or FSD, sometimes I will want to indicate so that I'm forcing the car to
telling it to turn.
And if I got to follow the wheel and not disengage, but still find it to change the lanes, that's just kind of a pain.
Annoying.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know, whatever. But anyway, so you're right. Some Ferraris have it. There are cars that have it that are, nice. And it's a thing. So I don't knock Tesla for doing it and trying it out, but I don't know. I don't think it'll work well if the 3's update gets it. So we'll see. But we kind of beat that horse.
yeah. I got a question for you. We've talked about a few things, and our opinions are maybe a little bit we're not that happy about these decisions necessarily that Tesla's making, but what are we excited about within the next, we're almost halfway through the year. We've got 5 months through. What are we excited about, before the end of this year? What do we think? What's cool? What's cool that's coming?
I mean, I would like to see hardware 4 be like more broad, wider spread. It's likely Highland will have hardware 4 in it, but it'll be nice to see if hardware 4 goes places and it actually works. So for those that don't know, if you have a hardware 4 car right now, guess what? You don't get to use FSD beta. Does not run on hardware 4 cars. So it'll be interesting to see the software catch up. It'll be interesting to see hardware 4 so we can actually get some real experience in seeing, like, does it actually work better? Is it really driving differently? Is it a similar, or are they going to do one software stack? Is it going to be 2 software stacks? So I'm very interested to see that. Cybertruck, is it actually going to come out? Right? Like it's supposed to. It's, both Highland and the Cybertruck should be coming out in the next few months. Are they going to? And FSD 12, 13, whatever. Let's see where it goes. That's probably where I'm most excited. Maybe an update on the new cars, the cheaper, lower end cars.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll give us something, maybe an update on the Roadster, but I'm not going to hold my breath on that. Yeah, I think we probably won't hear anything about the Roadster till maybe the very end of this year or into next year. We might hear an update, maybe.
Tesla doesn't seem to be in a hurry with the Roadster.
They already got the $50,000 down payments, right? Or the deposits. They don't care.
They got the money. Well, when we made a subform for the new Roadster, and I'm pretty sure we called it Roadster 2020. Because you couldn't call it Roadster 2.0 because Tesla had already used that for a previous version of the earlier car. So Roadster 2020, and then it became 2022, and I think we just have, I forget what we have right now. 20
Roadster next. You just need to call it
next gen Roadster.
Next gen Roadster, yeah. So what Elon had said about hardware I'm not hardware, software, FSD beta 12, right? He's saying that 12 was reserved for what exactly? He said it was reserved for the neural nets controlling everything, right?
Yeah. So, right. So for those, again, we've talked about it in the past, but right now FSD, or I should say autopilot and, older FSD, not in the beta, that is mostly the decision-making stuff is happening in their traditional code base. The neural net type stuff is just being used for inference for like object detection, identifying where things are in the video, but not actually to do any decision for driving the car. FSD beta, they've made some improvements to that. There are more neural nets. There are more, decisions being made by the neural nets, but there's still a lot of other code with rules and just driving decisions and various edge cases and corner cases. A lot of that is still hard coded in the code base. It's not actually the quote unquote AI part, if you want to think of it that way, of a neural net doing any of the deciding. So version 12, Elon did talk about. He said basically they plan on doing end-to-end neural net. So basically the neural net's doing everything from the input of the video signals to identify objects and positioning and where, all that kind of the occupancy network type stuff, and the decisions of controlling the car, of deciding, how to adjust the steering wheel and all those types of things, the acceleration. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I don't know that can happen this year. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. So I mean, that is kind of a leap. So I wonder if we'll be seeing, 11.5 and that kind of thing before we see 12.
Very likely.
So in terms of hardware 4, like there are some hardware 4 quote unquote cars now, but what does that mean? That means some processing and maybe some updated cameras, right?
Yeah, better cameras, some possible newer camera positions. I haven't.
Well, so that's not happening yet, right? We don't have any new positions yet. So hopefully the new 3,
maybe Highland,
yeah,
right, exactly. Highland may, but I mean, obviously the Cybertruck, right, has some different camera positions. So it'll basically be the new board.
So it sounds like we need a sub, hardware 4.5 or something, that indicates that, okay, the real hardware 4 that has, because to me the biggest thing is new camera positions, which may mean new training involved or whatever.
Well, I think
the inference.
So I think what they're doing, honestly, my understanding, and again, I could be wrong. I don't work at Tesla. I have no insider information. If I did, I wouldn't be allowed to say. But I think what they've done is they've separated the identifying of information from the camera feeds from the rest of the model stack, right? So if you do that abstraction, you basically say, I have cameras and this is me painting the world, the 3D visualization of the world. And you take that apart from object detection based on that space that you've created, that representation, separate from the control. Technically, you could have one trained stack that works no matter where the cameras are, as long as that outermost thin layer is able to map its feed into your 3-dimensional space of your virtual.
Right. So part of the the recent updates was that all the cameras are working together to build a vector space of where stuff is. So that vector space is a abstraction. That's just a thing.
Exactly.
So you can have new cameras in different positions, and they
not retrain everything.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So those cameras individually will see different positions, but they will still have to create a similar sort of vector space.
Common vector space, correct? Yeah. Yes. So that's most likely what they're doing. That would be the smart way, and Tesla's pretty smart when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So I don't see them having a problem with different camera positions. But yeah, we'll have to see how things progress.
It's interesting though, because part of that vector space has to be, where are we blind? Like, what are the blind spots? And because
that could be, that could just be additional vectors that are fed in, right? Like you have a bounding box of where where things are, and it's going to impact how heavy parts of the models have to do inference, or even you might need additional models for inference of basically tracking objects over time, inferring that I don't see something due to occlusion, but it's going to reappear, all that kind of stuff. Those things could be affected based on the quality of your your view of the world.
So my car will always have to do that silly creep thing at stop signs, but
Correct.
hopefully future cars with better
Will
placement
not
won't
need to
have
do that. Correct. But we'll see. Honestly, I just want to I want the stuff to come out. I want to see it working. I want to see how well it works, and I want to use that to decide: do I upgrade? Do I trade in? Do I retrofit myself? Because that would be a fun project. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
that retrofit would be a heck of a project.
That'd be fun, though, right?
I don't see me retrofitting anything. But I'm excited for the Cybertruck, not really for the thing itself. I probably don't want one, but just that it's the newest vehicle and it should be pushing things forward. What I see with the updates of the existing vehicles is more of a stripping down as opposed to a building up of technologies. Like, oh, here's things people don't need. People don't need passenger lumbar support anymore. Let's get rid of that. People don't need we don't need the dimming rearview mirror. Okay, let's get rid of that sort of thing. So I just feel like stuff's getting stripped down and with the existing platform. So if the Cybertruck sort of pushes things forward, I'd be happy about that.
That would be cool.
So
that's what you're hopeful for. Cybertruck's your big one.
No, not really. I mean, all the things that you mentioned were basically everything that I would have mentioned, which is only why I just kind of commented on them.
No, that makes sense.
But in terms of the things moving forward, yeah, Cybertruck and whatever other cars. My only caveat with them is that Tesla's pushing into more lower market, which is fine, which maybe makes sense in terms of having dominance. There is an argument for Tesla being the luxury brand. And
it really isn't.
Yeah, but that's the thing. I mean,
not anymore.
They used to be kind of.
Yeah.
So I'd sort of like them just to make have more nice things as opposed to more customer accommodations. So
agreed. Be more like Apple.
Well, not don't charge $1 zillion for some wheels for your very quickly obsolete.
I mean, 20 grand for my brake kit upgrade. Come on.
Whiner.
I was gonna say wheels on your desktop computer. Or your tower. however, I think it was like $4 grand or something for the
the
they were insane. Yeah.
And now that thing's obsolete to a mini computer. So
yeah. How about you, Mike? Any other things you're thinking of you're excited to see this year?
I would really like to see the comfort suspension of the Y trickle into the 3. I mean, that's always been a bugaboo. Not as much as the Y. The Y's had a terrible reputation for being stiff and unyielding, but even the 3 could stand an upgrade and kind of get some fine tuning put in place.
I wonder if the Highland will have an improvement there.
Don't know. But I know, aftermarket coilovers and shocks are a huge moneymaker for all the third parties for the 3. Everybody's trying to get rid of road noise.
Maybe they don't want it to improve.
Yeah. There's a larger population that don't want to mess around with non-factory, toys.
Well, people have been asking for air suspension type things on the Y.
I was just asking for updated shocks. I mean, if you give me air suspension like the S or the X, that'd be awesome.
It is very nice.
That would be fabulous.
Well, I mean, that's something they specifically didn't want to put on those lower market vehicles, but now,
Yeah, but it's not really lower market. It's not lower market anymore. I mean, it hasn't been for some time. You want lower market, it's a Bolt. So,
I mean, it is still lower market than the S or the X.
Yeah, but not compared to everybody else that's showing up in the market.
But are they really showing up is the thing.
They're trying to.
They canceled the Bolt. Ford says they're not really
we won't discuss VinFast and all the problems it's got, but
well,
Toyota's,
anyway.
Toyota's late to the game. Yeah. Honda's
anyway,
late to the game.
I'm hopeful, and then maybe Elon can focus more on Tesla with with the sort of hopefully the things that Twitter are dying down if he actually gets a CEO.
Good luck with that.
Looking promising.
I wouldn't say that necessarily, but
no, I wouldn't either.
You don't think she's going to take it? You don't think she's going to take it?
No, I think she will, but I think she's going to get neutered. I don't think Elon.
Oh, I don't think
let
it's.
go.
Oh yeah, I think it's gonna be awful for her. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, she'll get paid a lot, but
She
But
will
yeah.
get paid a lot, but
I
Elon's
mean-
not going to let go of the control.
Yeah, I think Gwen Shotwell is doing a great job with SpaceX, and just the way Elon described what he's going to do with Twitter, like his roles will be X, Y, Z. Just sounds like he's still like, okay, I'm still in complete
still the
control.
CEO.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm still pulling the strings, working the.
So sorry. Too many tangents here. You mentioned SpaceX. Did you see his tweet about the thrust on the was it the Raptor 3?
I missed that.
I saw a graph.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't
Basically,
know
they
what he had to say about it though.
I don't know that he said very much beyond what the graph. He just said he basically just said the Raptor V3 just achieved 350 bar chamber pressure, so 269 tons of thrust. So the Starship Heavy booster is 33 Raptors, so it would have a total thrust of 8877 tons or 8,877 tons or 19.5 million pounds. So anyway,
So it's a lot.
It's basically a noticeably large improvement of thrust capability out of the new Raptor engine.
Okay, so
Kinda
that
cool.
means he'll completely destroy the launch pad next time.
Well, I guess we're all over the place at this point. Hopefully the launch pad will be upgraded by then. I mean, they basically already did the excavation, so they can put down,
easy. Now
put
they
down
can
what they're
fill it
gonna
in.
need to put down.
Right.
But I mean, I was gonna say that earlier Tesla days when Elon was very much had his fingers in the pot, like in the different things going on at Tesla. The feeling was, why is he doing that? He has SpaceX, and it felt a little bit meddlesome at the time. But the thing that was clear was that Tesla was much more in the public eye, so that him being visible in Tesla made him more visible than things he did in SpaceX. So it didn't matter so much.
Yeah.
And so my concern now is that, well, guess what's more visible, at least in terms of the news than Tesla, is Twitter. Even though that,
Sure.
Only like in terms of number of people that use Twitter, it's where he gets a lot of attention. And so that's where he's focusing his attention because that's where he gets listened to. And
It's a feedback loop.
yeah, it's a feedback loop, and he gets, reactions or whatever, which I don't know, some releases some dopamine or something. So I kind of feel like, he really needs some kind of COO sort of person for Tesla, I think. And then he can he can do whatever his Twitter stuff is then if things are running smoothly at Tesla.
He's a very rich and powerful man. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah.
So, yep. We'll see how it goes. So, anyway, that's our show. Thanks for hanging out with us. As always, happy Mother's Day to any mothers out there. If this
Say
is
hello to
being
all your
recorded
moms.
and broadcast on Mother's Day. So, thanks to those behind the scenes who didn't do that much today.
It's a holiday and
it's a
folks
holiday.
are not around. So if you notice, the people.
That's why we were so late. Sorry.
Yeah, and the folks that watched the video and like, why is that camera thing? And that's because it's just me doing everything, and I'm not paying attention.
We don't have our normal production.
We are not professionals.
Anyway, so apologies for that, but in any way, thanks, Danny, and Adam and
James and Seb wasn't
James
here today.
Seb wasn't here, but
right
he'll
now.
be back, so he was unable to be here. I guess happy anniversary to Seb, right? It's his they're out of town or something. Wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, thanks for those of you for watching. Like and subscribe, all that stuff. Hit the bell, the usual. We like it, appreciate it. Feel free to drop us some comments on TeslaMotorsClub.com. Become a supporting member, the usual. All those things. We'll see you next time. Again, episode 41 is out. Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.